requirement, and most of such requirements come through the vendor supported, vendor provided application servers, which of course is a Java or J2EE or Java EE server in this case. Server components are two types, as I said, web components and business components. Web components take care of presentation logic as demanded, and business components take care of business logic as demanded. Okay. And these components interact appropriately to achieve whatever is the application that needs to be doing at the as prescribed by by our client and according to the PCI requirement. Okay. After having said that, positioned like what are the business components doing, what are the web components doing, and what are the non-functional requirements, let's take a look at some of the things that he talked about. I have captured only a few of them and position how the new Java EE is going to help us. Some of the things that we captured are the logging API. He kept on talking about logging needs to be done. So I am going to say like how logging is going to, how Java EE is going to enable you to do the logging. He kept on saying that the client has to be authenticated and authorized. Like I will position how the Java EE side of the JAS, we call this as a JAS, it's going to help you. And he said that it has to be masked, it has to be hashed or whatever, how it is going to happen. So I am going to deep dive in the next 5 minutes as to how it is going to happen. I am not going to talk much about it because on the client side it is like I have already talked about it, so I will not talk much about the client side. And what are the applications on the server side, like based on the industry that we have talked about. I will also add another caveat here that I am not just saying that Java EE is just for PCI industry. We take a look at what is the security policy described by the application. In this particular case, it is the PCI which is the security policy that has been enforced, and now we have a governance based on that we can take care of the how to build these applications. On the server side, we will have an e-commerce server which will be running a financial application, a database application, and probably a workflow application which takes care of how the hops has to be made to where it has to go and things like that. And on the payment, probably a payment gateway, that's what he also mentioned, which is also going to be a server application for me, which is going to establish connectivity between the e-commerce server that we talked about earlier and the backend banking application, which is the banking banking guy who is going to be as a part of my workflow. And the banking application is the guy who is at the end, who is going to ensure the payment that is going to be making for that particular transaction. He is going to do the card processing. Okay. These are my last few slides wherein I will go deep dive. As I said that because we are talking about security, we have picked up only the security part, and in this we say like for any application the security strategy depends basically on the security policy of the company which is using that application. In this case, that is governed by PCI. Okay. And he has given a list of several things, the list of 14, right? 14, the PCI standard wants you to enforce those 14 standards, and most of them fall into the following categories: the logging, authentication and authorization, encryption, secure storage, or secure or secure transmission. So I'll pick up one by one. Let's try to go deep into that. Logging is taken care of within Java EE environment using logging APIs. Okay, logging API is not new. In fact, it was not existing at all. Okay, somebody else generated logging APIs. It's it became popular. So Sun merged the logging APIs with the Java EE environment. Authentication and authorization, it was existing, and probably it has been now upgraded, and actually Sun has introduced what is called as a JAWS framework, and the JAWS framework is going to help you in doing the authentication and authorization. I'll give you a little bit more details on that. And encryption and cryptography is not new. However, like it has been happening, but nowadays the encryption, according to the requirement of the industry, the encryption and cryptography has been grouped under a single umbrella called JCA, that is Java Cryptography Architecture, which comprises JCE, which is Java Cryptography Extensions, and Java GSS, which is Generic Security Services. And also Java EE provides along with it what is called as a set of toolkit, which is going to enable you to probably do the key management or signing or enforcement of the policy and so on and so forth. Okay. I will get into these things very quickly. Like I do not have much time left, although like I request for a couple of minutes over here. Logging APIs, if you use it from the Java EE side, like it is going to allow you to deliver logging at 5 different levels. The least logged information all the way to the highest logged information you can choose, and then depending on what you want, your application go through a logger and a handler, and then it goes to the outside world. So depending on what you want to use, you can use a set of filters at the logger stage and a filter or a handler at the formatter at the handler stage. Authentication and authorization, as I said, Sun has provided you, and in fact not just Sun, any of the Java EE vendors. It could be IBM, it could be Oracle, it could be any other guy whom you are talking to. They do provide, based on the APIs as well as the JSRs, frameworks have been made available. Okay. Very quickly, like authentication and authorization go together everywhere. Okay. So Sun has created actually 3 common classes which takes care of the authentication and authorization. They are very simple, but at the same time very comprehensive. It can become comprehensive and very effective when properly used. It a subject, a principal, and a credential. A subject is a guy or a service who will be using the application. A principal is like information about the service or the guy who is using the application, and a credential is like what is the security credential of that particular thing. That is applicable to both authentication and authorization. So these classes are used in context with, like, if it is being authenticated, these sets of classes and or interfaces come into picture and then appropriately handled. For example, when a subject logs in, a login context is created for him, which is going to use a login module. What is the login module here? For example, it is actually a conscious decision of your company what is the login module you are using. You could be using a login module which uses just a user name password based authentication mechanism, or it could be using a fingerprint mechanism to allow you